Good afternoon, good day. Hello, you sexy beasts. So I'm watching some other channels and I'm noticing that people have cool signs in the background. So I'm thinking to myself, why they got a cool sign? I ain't got a cool sign. I ain't got nothing. I got a computer monitor over here. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to get rid of some scrap that we got sitting in the garage and make my own. Let's say you don't have any scraps laying around anywhere. Well, that's fine, because the whole thing you could probably do for under $100 anyways. Actually, you could probably do it for less than that. You could probably do it for like $60. If you're interested in making one, I did it. You can do it. Here's how I did it. Okay, so we start with 2 pieces of scrap wood that I've got here in the garage.
23 3/4.
Just taking some measurements. Now I go into Photoshop. I take those measurements, create a document of that dimension, and then basically I have to edit it. Here I go changing the dimensions. So that's the sign as it appears in actual dimensions. Now, in order to get a printout, since I don't have a wide format printer, I got to print that onto 9 by 11, or 8.5 by 10 rather, sheets of paper, in order so that I can make a stencil out of it. So I'm just finishing that up and printing. Then becomes a tedious task of taking one of these X-Acto knives and cutting out all the individual letters, making sure that I tape it flat to the board that I'm using, so that it's not riding up on me when I start to trace all these things out. I just got like a carpenter's pencil, whatever this thing is, just to trace out all the different letters. And it's kind of a pain in the ass. This is just regular printer paper, so it doesn't really hold up to tracing all that well. So I kind of found like if I just shade it on the sides, it does a pretty good job of getting the outline of it. When I tried to kind of run it along the sides, it would just bend the paper in. So use construction paper if you want to make a really good stencil. Here I go, just taking off the stencils. Now I gotta do like the little piece of the O that was missing. Alright, I got all this stuff drawn out on here. I gotta take it to the drill press. And in order to use a scroll saw, you need to drill holes basically in every letter that you want to cut out. Here I am drilling those tiny holes for the which is kind of a weird font. I probably should have chose a different font for it, but I thought it looked cool on the paper. I thought it would look cool like backlit, but looking back, I might have gone a different font. So drill press is definitely the easiest way to do this because you're not gonna screw up and make any errors by having the bit skip around on the wood. So that's definitely super helpful. Right now that that's done, over to the scroll saw. And this was a huge pain because I did not know how to use a scroll saw properly. So I had to figure out how to take the blade off and all that stuff, put it in the hole. But it was a learning curve, let me put it that way. It was not, it wasn't pretty. And the final cut kind of showed that it wasn't all that pretty or accurate. I thought I did an okay job for my first time really using it. I think I used it one other time before, but it was not for doing anything intricate. It was like a really quick cut. So this time it was a little more tedious, a little more intricate. So I went and had these files. Basically, due to my kind of crappy scroll sawing job. Yes, I know it looks like I'm masturbating there. I don't know. I'll get that in somebody will say something about that. But I'm just using this to shape up kind of the outside, just to make those letters look a little more like they're supposed to. And then I took a sander, and the pad was not wanting to stick to it, so it was skipping all over the place. But gave it a good sanding. Here on the scroll saw, I'm just cutting out some of those inside, like for the O and the B, the inside of the letters that those needed to be scrolled out as well. And see, there you go, the O, part of the B, another part of the O. So put that on later. Here I am having to make the frame around it, so it's just another scrap piece of wood. I'm just kind of making some markings on it. to where I want the plexiglass to sit, and kind of the clearances that I want. And just take those over to the table saw and just rip those basically to get some strips so that I can box out the frame on the sign. Again, not the best technique here. Yeah, so I was scared I was gonna chop one of my fingers off. And then getting over to the miter saw just to cut those to the proper length. And it'll be fairly uneventful. Miter saw treated me quite well, so I had no complaints there. I had to do a couple cuts because after I squared it up a little bit, I noticed it wasn't quite, maybe needed a little bit shaved off at the end. But grab a little Gorilla Glue, kind of glued them on the on that piece of wood here to frame it out, make this box. Inside is where I'm going to put all the components and the plexiglass. So I've got them all set up here, and then I just get some clamps, just hold them down. The glue dries pretty quick. It was like 5 or 6 hours I think it just took to dry. And once they were done drying, I just took the nail gun and popped some little tiny nails in there just to reinforce it a little bit on the front. Keep the face on. A little bit extra security when I'm hanging it. Polyurethane and some stain. So let's see. Got this stain that kind of gives it like this old wood look. I mean, this wood is already old, but this makes it look a little older, a little more vintage wood. That's what you want to call it, whatever the hell people want these days. But this is what was in the garage. This is what I used. I wasn't about to go buy anything. Voila! Beautiful. Alright, cut out the actual plexiglass. This is just extra stuff that I had from Home Depot from a while back. When you cut these, that little plexiglass dust gets everywhere, so just kind of be aware of that. And it's just fitting it in. I didn't want to go all the way down because I was going to put some components in, but bought some of this Rust-Oleum frosted glass. It took probably like 10 applications to get it the amount of frostiness I wanted. Then I had some marine epoxy sitting around in the toolbox that I just used. Really could probably use anything that will bond to wood to plexiglass, but this is all I had in there, and there was a little bit left. I just wanted to get rid of it. It ended up working, but this, however, took forever to dry. That was a huge pain. Some LEDs from another project that I just had an extra spool of them. So I just ran this LED strip on the inside. It kind of did not want to stay straight, but it took a little bit just to make sure that it was pretty sticky though. So it was adhering to the wood a lot better than I thought it was. I thought it was going to keep falling off. And then here's just some regular super glue from like Walmart just to glue the remaining letter pieces. And I just glued them directly on that plexiglass. And wham! It is all done. This cool LED thing had a remote. It's got like all sorts of settings, different light combinations. I want to say I got it on Amazon for like 25 bucks. It does a pretty good job, so I was happy with it. I appreciate you watching. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, all that fancy stuff. I also have a link to a t-shirt store that I have. If you like anything in there, go ahead, give it an order. I'll send it out the very next day. Thanks again for watching.